Foreign investors living in Vietnam often build sophisticated business and asset portfolios. Companies are structured, contracts are negotiated, tax exposure is reviewed, yet estate planning is frequently left unaligned. When death occurs, inheritance law replaces investment strategy. An investor living in Vietnam may hold assets in multiple jurisdictions. Vietnamese real estate, shares in Vietnamese companies, offshore holding structures, foreign bank accounts. Each asset category may be governed by a different legal system. Effective cross-border estate planning begins with a complete inventory of assets. Location, ownership structure, and regulatory status must be identified. Without mapping, legal alignment is impossible. A movable property in Vietnam is governed primarily by Vietnamese law. Movable assets may be subject to conflict of law analysis. This distinction determines which legal system applies. Vietnamese inheritance law protects certain compulsory heirs. Investors who assume full testamentary freedom may face statutory limitations. Estate planning must accommodate mandatory provisions. A single global will may not be sufficient. Separate wills for Vietnamese and overseas assets can improve clarity and enforceability. Coordination prevents unintended revocation. For founders and shareholders, inheritance is not merely asset transfer. It is control transfer. Without coordinated shareholder agreements and wills, ownership may fragment among heirs. Operational stability may be compromised. Company charters, shareholder agreements, and buy-sell clauses must reflect succession strategy. Inheritance law alone should not dictate governance outcomes. Structure should anticipate transition. Some investors hold property personally, others hold through corporate entities. Each structure produces different inheritance consequences. Registration and compliance obligations differ. Cross-border estates may trigger tax obligations in multiple jurisdictions. Vietnamese reporting requirements may coexist with foreign estate or inheritance taxes. Fragmented planning increases exposure. Foreign investors sometimes use trusts or foundations for estate planning. Vietnamese law does not provide a domestic trust regime. Foreign structures must be carefully evaluated for local enforceability and compliance. Investors residing in Vietnam often have multinational families. Spouses and children may hold different nationalities. Estate planning must anticipate cross-border enforcement and recognition issues. Foreign wills and supporting documents may require legalization and certified translation before use in Vietnam. Procedural compliance determines whether inheritance rights can be exercised locally. Without coordinated planning, probate may occur simultaneously in multiple jurisdictions. Inconsistent judgments create enforcement risk. Structured estate planning reduces duplication. Some investors consider lifetime asset transfers to reduce estate complexity. Such strategies must comply with Vietnamese civil and tax law. Improper transfers may be challenged. Cross-border estates often fail due to unclear expectations among heirs. Transparent communication and documentation reduce dispute probability. Surprise fuels litigation. Foreign ownership restrictions, licensing requirements, and sector regulations may affect inherited assets. Estate planning should account for regulatory eligibility of heirs. Operational continuity depends on compliance. Many inheritance disputes involving investors stem from incomplete planning. Delays, asset freezes, and governance conflicts erode value. Preventive structuring is less costly than corrective litigation. Map assets across jurisdictions. Identify mandatory rules including forced heirship. Align wills and corporate documents. Coordinate tax and regulatory compliance. Maintain documentation readiness. For investors living in Vietnam, cross-border estate planning is not a personal afterthought. It is a governance decision. Inheritance law will shape control, asset distribution, and family stability. Deliberate structure ensures continuity. Without it, default rules decide. If you are an investor living in Vietnam with assets across multiple jurisdictions, estate planning should be integrated into your overall investment strategy. Mapping assets, aligning wills with corporate documents, and anticipating Vietnamese mandatory rules are not optional. They are structural decisions. To design a coordinated cross-border estate framework tailored to your portfolio, contact LTS Law at lts.com.vn for strategic legal guidance. For serious investors, continuity is not accidental. It is engineered.